Check. Check.
All right, John.
All right, we are live. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We are gathered here to talk about the AMPS International Show, and we're lucky to have a lot of great individuals on the line with us. And I'm just going to go around the room for a brief introduction, but we'll start off in Arizona with Steve Munsell in his Boss Man Gray. How's it going, Steve?
Hey, how's it going, John?
Good to have you. How's the trip back from AMPS?
It was kind of hellish because I'm a cheapskate and I bought the cheapest ticket I could get. So it took about 17 hours of airports and airplanes to get home. And then I still had to drive 2.5 hours from Phoenix to where I live. So.
Oh man. Well, I mean, you do own a startup, so I feel like you got to be scrappy. So you got to save it where you can. That was more money for the bar.
It's the anarchist punk rocker in me. I just refuse to pay for privilege. Every time you have to check into the flight, they're trying to boost you like a $29 seat and charge you a little extra for this, give you a credit card, and it's like, stop, it's gross.
So,
I hate it.
so you're the only guy who flew from Virginia to Arizona via Greenland, right?
Yeah, right. Pretty much. But no, that was awesome. It was an awesome trip, man. It was really great to get out of my little nest for a week and meet a lot of the East Coast guys, and I got to spend a lot of time with Angel from Micro World Games.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Anybody that doesn't know him, I mean, he's got an online store, and when he goes to shows, he tries to bring the hobby shop experience to the show. So I mean, he's got all the paints, the tools.
He's got everything.
Yep, and it's fantastic. So.
Yeah, he's always got it well stocked. It is literally a hobby shop on wheels.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, I'm going to go over to Jackson, our youngest member tonight. Yep. And how's it going?
It's going all right. How are you?
Good. So was this your first AMP show, Jackson?
It was my first. I've been to plenty of IPMS shows, but this is my first AMP show. So
nice. You going back?
Absolutely. I've definitely told everyone that's asked me about it. I think AMPS has an amazing sense of community that I hadn't really gotten with IPMS before. So, yeah, I'll definitely be going back for that alone.
Nice. Tell us about that groupie shirt you got on.
Well, some hobo outside the convention gave me this and told me to wear it. So the second day I was there, I actually hung out with Steve Munsell. He taught me how to do sandbags and stuff, and then gave me a bunch of swag as always. So I figured I'd represent him a little bit on the stream tonight.
Nice. Steve, you have a way about you giving everyone gifts. It's probably a good thing that they drove, or they would have to upgrade their luggage fee based on the pounds of resin you handed over. So we're going to go to the center of the screen to David Bryan Bridges. How's it going?
Hey, man. Doing great. Doing awesome.
So what number AMP show is this for you?
I think 5 international shows now, plus a bunch of smaller local and regional shows also. But yeah, I've been to quite a few. Yeah.
Did you drive up or fly?
Yeah, a 10.5-hour one-way drive, and ended up being 12 because I-95 decided to suck at numerous points. But it was worth it. It was a great show. I think Dayton was still my favorite, but definitely hats off to all the Hampton Roads guys. They did a fantastic job up there. A really great venue. The quality of models was just outstanding. It was really good. Some of the best quality on the tables that I've seen in a while. Just well-run show, except for the fact I showed up. I got there at 11 a.m. on Friday, and they had so many people coming in, they had to kind of shut down the Ramrod station to take entries because they were just getting overwhelmed. And then I went and judged and came back, and they had just shut the Ramrod again. So I kind of struggled to get my stuff entered, even though I pre-registered. But that was just a sign of, I think, how many people have been waiting for this show for, 2 years now. It's twice it's been canceled, and this is definitely a excitement and vibe going on that people really wanted to be there. So that was really cool to see so many people just excited to get out and socialize and just meet each other and talk about models. It was a great time. Excellent.
Awesome. So we'll come back to the Ramrod comment because I think some of our listeners probably don't have any idea what that is outside of Super Troopers. So we will come back to that. So we'll come back to Car Ramrod. We'll go over to TJ. Just a quick hello. Unfortunately, you didn't get a chance to attend, right?
I did not. I really wanted to, but I had to prep everything you see behind me, which used to be over there is now here because I'm getting the half my basement done. So I spent my whole weekend moving this and everything you can't see over there. So I was pretty busy.
Priorities.
I think AMPS probably would have been a little more fun than moving a bunch of stuff that I didn't want to move.
For sure. But I feel like the East Coast is loaded with shows. So you got another one coming up this weekend, right? Or is it next weekend?
No, it's tomorrow. It's the
Yeah.
Model Classic. It's our local show. It's in Fairfax. It's like 45 minutes from my house. Jackson will be there. I'll be there, and I think all of the Model Geeks are going to be there too. So it should be really fun.
I've scenes out of Anchorman where you guys all come into the alley and throw grenades and pitchforks at each other. Where'd Darren get a grenade?
Yeah, I would say Darren's like Brick Tamlin. That's pretty accurate.
All right, we're going to go to the bottom left. I'm going to hide the comments for a few minutes. Neil, how's it going?
It's going great. My feet have recovered, and I am back at the bench. But yeah, I mean, just echoing the other comments, it was just hell of a good to get back with the crowd again. You know, Jackson, you hit it right on the head. You know, it's the community that really makes it for me, and it was just great to get back together with everybody. We've been planning this show for 3 years, and you know, we finally pulled it off and had a ball.
Yeah, the venue looked awesome. So give our listeners a flavor. How many AMPS shows do you think you've been to?
My first AMPS Nationals, just for the a bit of gratuitous background, I grew up in Australia. I lived all over the place, but was basically based in Australia until 2004. I got here just too late for the 2004 Nationals, but my first one was 2005, and I've been to every one since, along with pretty much every regional show I can get to. Plus a bunch of IPMS shows and stuff as well. So yeah, I will go. Have models will travel. Kind of is my mantra.
Nice. So you were there in the classic days of Havre de Grace.
Yes, sir. That was. I mean, it was a great venue, but we just outgrew it. And certainly by Friday afternoon, you did not want to go anywhere near those bathrooms.
That's right. Man, that place was it was tight to say the least, and I don't think it had air conditioning either. But that added the ambiance. So next
ambiance is one way to put it. I mean, look, it was a great venue. It served us well, but it was funny. When we moved out of there, I think 2006 was the Hubbard, Ohio show, and then we went back, and everybody was like, "No, we can't do this anymore." We were literally bursting at the seams. And then the following year, of course, we went to Auburn, Indiana, to that massive space there that they had at the museum,
Cruise Museum,
which was just great. I mean, that I think really set us on a whole new trajectory. So, and since then it's been over. I mean, Dayton was mentioned. That was a great venue. Just don't try to get service at the restaurant at the hotel. But Newport News was excellent. When we looked at that room first up, and at that point they had just redone the lighting, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's like the surface of the sun in there. It's wonderful." And as you saw, it was a tremendous venue to have.
Yeah, it was a beautiful venue. I mean, it had a rotunda, which I'm surprised AMPS can rate that because that's too classy for an organization like AMPS.
We did actually want to, for there was a plan to have the AMPS executive board at the start of the award ceremony come down those stairs all dressed in monk's robes, kind of like the Monty Python thing, but I don't know, they put the nix on that.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah, there you go.
For sure. Well, thanks for that perspective. We'll get back to the venue. Jesse, I've never had the pleasure of meeting you kind of virtually or in person, so happy to have you on the line. I'm super stoked to talk to you. I've been a long admirer of your work and happy to see that you went to AMPS, and not only that, but you kicked ass there. So, tell us a little bit about your experience, and maybe, is this your first AMPS show?
No, actually, I started going to AMPS in 2010 or 2011, and I did about 4 or 5 in a row, and then I ended up kind of life got in the way for a little while, and so this is the first big show I've been back since like 2016, I think. And so, yeah, just kind of fell out of modeling for a couple of years. But no, it was good to be back. Rode up with some other AMPS Atlanta guys. They let me sleep on the way up, which was very nice because I only got about 2 hours of sleep the night before trying to pack everything up. But no, it was an excellent time. Good to see a lot of old faces. Walked in and just immediately started seeing some people I knew, and that was cool to reconnect with everyone.
That's awesome. So what time did you end up getting into the show on the weekend?
We actually got in pretty early. We basically started from Atlanta at 6:30 in the morning on Thursday, and so we were basically in right as they were opening.
Nice.
Yep. So yeah, we got to spend the whole time there, and then even on Sunday after the event ceremonies and whatnot, ended up staying that night before and just getting on the road early on Sunday.
Sweet. So we will definitely come back and talk about your experience at the show and specifically how well you did. I love that Centurion, so we'll get back to it. And then certainly last but not least, another gentleman that I haven't had the pleasure of meeting before in person virtually. Steve, how's it going?
Good, John. How are you doing?
Good. Stephen Reid, we are so happy to have you, one of the Soviet armor experts that we always talk about, and we finally put a face to a name and certainly let our listeners see who you are. I'm assuming you're probably in the same boat with Neil. How many shows do you got under your belt?
Not as many as Neil, not even close. But the first one I went to was 1995 in Havre de Grace, and I went to 2 or 3 there. And although I've never stopped building armor, I just haven't been able to go to as many as I wanted to.
Yeah.
So now that my kids are off on their own, I hope to change that. So it was a great show, though. And you know what? The other thing is a lot of the core members of AMPS always attended ArmorCon in Connecticut.
Yep.
And I happen to be living in New England, so I used to hit that. You know ArmorCon.
For sure. Held every fall.
So when I go to an AMPS show, instantly run into people that I've known for a very long time. One of the guys there I've known for 30 years. So
nice.
That's kind of the thing that we always talk about. It's like when you walk into a Nats or into ArmorCon, you pick up the conversation that you left off in the bar on the Saturday night the year before. It's that kind of feeling.
For sure.
My favorite memory from this one will be when I ran into Cookie Sewell with Jackson. And I told Cookie I'd built an IDF M4, and he told me that the last guy he knew that built one of those died suddenly, which is sad. Thanks a lot, Cookie. I should have checked with you before I started on it.
That's hilarious. It's good to see Cookie there. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting Cookie that much, and when it comes to AMPS for our listeners, and please, Neil or Steve, you can chime in. Cookie is the grandfather of AMPS. It really all emanated from his idea back in Maryland.
Yeah,
absolutely. His email ID AMPS1. That's that's not a lie. He was the first.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, let's just talk about the show. AMPS is such an interesting concept, especially for people that are used to traditional shows such as IPMS. They're used to 1, 2, 3, and kind of the opaque nature of judging and not being able to see what's going on. That's the standard for IPMS. But I think what AMPS does completely differently, and what I love, is bring that transparency to judging. And maybe before we jump into judging, I'm going to kick it back to Bryan Bridges to talk about, when you mentioned the word ramrod, can you explain to our listeners what that station means at the show?
Well, to kind of give you a breakdown of how the whole system works, you go to a typical IPMS show and you go to registration, you pay your money, you get your forms if you haven't filled them out already, and you go put your stuff on the table. And then once the show's over, you go pick it up and you're done. And it's pretty straightforward. There's a little bit more of a process with AMPS. Registration at AMPS, same kind of thing. You pay money, you fill out your forms, but then from there you go to the ramrod station. And those guys can help you just in case there's any last minute stuff. Do we need to change your skill level? Because there's different skill levels. You can either choose or be promoted into an AMPS. And they also, instead of you just taking your model straight to the display room, every model gets put on a tray, and that tray gets spirited off to the judges' room. And so they're kind of the guys who do that. They're kind of the middleman between the registration people and the actual judges. They make sure everything's squared away. They take your models from you, and then they take them and put them in the judges' room. And then from there, as the judging process happens, and it's more or less as they come in, they get put through the judging process. There's teams of 4 judges, and there's a point system that's laid out in the AMPS rules, and they take out of the 4 judges that score it, they drop the lowest score, add up the 3, and that's your score. And based on your skill level, there you go. It's what your medal color is going to be. And it's not a competition so much as maybe it's more of a juried exhibition, whereas you're not getting judged against everybody else that's competing in this convention, but you're getting scored against the standard on your own merit. And a big part of that is explaining to you in the comments on the bottom things you can improve upon, things you did really well. And just the whole process of that judging is actually, to me, one of the most fun parts of the whole event, because you get to sit down with these other modelers and just look at models one after another and spend time really just going over and seeing all this great work. And especially for the newer people who are maybe in basic or intermediate, you get to kind of help them along. It's really driven by community, because none of this happens without a lot of involvement. And I think probably if you looked at the percentage of people that get involved with judging in an AMP show, it's just by necessity far greater than it is at an IPMS show. And not to say that IPMS shows, especially nationals, don't require a lot of judges, but it's at AMPS, it's especially crucial. But I think the reason they're able to get so many people to do it is because it's genuinely an enjoyable process, and it's very positive. You're always trying to help people out, help them grow. That's the whole point of an AMPS competition and convention, is to help people move beyond where they're at and find ways to take their hobby to the next level. And it's just really enjoyable, to me anyway. And I think for most people, to be able to do that for another modeler, and you have, of course, no clue whose model it is that you're looking at, but to sit down with 3 other people at your table and do that is just it's a great experience. It's a wonderful team environment. And to me, it's not been matched in any other modeling environment that I've ever been in.
And it's funny how many friends you make at those judging tables.
Absolutely. That's 100%
around for
true.
a couple hours and judging models, and yeah.
Yep.
And I will say this, for anybody who's never judged under the AMP system, I just held up the card, but like David said, there are 4 judges scoring it using a system, and the lowest score is thrown out. So let's say there's 4 of us here, and I've never done this before, and I hammer the person because I don't know what I'm doing. My score is tossed. Now, on the other hand, if I'm too light on the person and I give them a 10, that score is going to survive through. So it's biased toward benefiting the modeler ultimately. Yeah. But I'm able to listen to the comments of all the other judges, and the judges are literally rotating the model on a rotisserie and saying, do you guys see this road wheel out of alignment? Do you see this mold seam? It is it's an apprenticeship. It's a self-coaching system.
Mm-hmm. Now, with that, Steve, there is a second check after the scores are tabulated. Each judging shift, the cards are passed over to somebody who then checks the math to make sure that we all got it right, because after a while your brain gets fuzzy, but also to check that the scores are not wildly out of alignment. Right. So that you might give a 10, but if everybody else is giving a 7,
that won't survive the table.
Those cards are going to come back to the table and go, guys, come on, what's going on here? Why are you so wildly apart? And you have a chat about that, and you try to get to alignment.
I think both of what Steve and Neil touched on there is really kind of a hallmark of the AMP system, is that it's so thorough and well thought out, and it starts from the very beginning. To be a judge at AMPS, there's actually a training program, and now they have an online version, but traditionally it's been face-to-face, which you can do that as well. And they go over all the AMPS rules, and this is what you're expected to do as a judge, and these are the standards and the different experience levels. And there's different ways you can get involved. It's not just judging. You could be a runner, you could be an assistant chief judge, you could be ramrod, registration. There's a lot of different levels that you can get involved in, and each one of those really is critical, and they're all fun to do. Especially the stuff in the judging room.
the ramrods are a big help too, because they kind of can help guide the modeler. You know, I mean, you'll get guys who you will come in and go, yeah, you know, I've been modeling for 20 years, but I've never entered a competition anymore. But I've been modeling for 20 years, so of course I'm an advanced modeler. And you know, the ramrod will look at it, you know, and I've often said to people, listen, I was given really good advice in my first show. Enter in the intermediate level at your first show. And then, you know, if you get a gold, then the way the judging system works is you automatically have to go to advanced. If you don't medal at all, then maybe intermediate isn't your thing and you need to go back to basic, you know, et cetera. But let the scores kind of settle you out. And the other thing we get is, you know, one guy turned up one year with a model of 2 cranes holding up a CH-46 helicopter. What the hell do we put that in terms of categories? You know, so we ended up eventually putting it in under vignettes so we could judge everything rather than just one out of that whole group of models. So the ramrods help guide the modeler in doing, you know, getting in the right place so that they are best positioned to succeed.
Yeah, and I think that's important, Neil. I do want to chime in. You mentioned, I remember the CH-47. I think that was AMPS Atlanta, by the way.
It was.
I know, because I was the
there.
ramrod.
Yeah, so, you know, you bring up a good point, and I think also that's the importance of open judging as well, where it has the flexibility where you can put the model in any category, to be honest, but it allows you to ensure that the model is judged in its entirety, where at an IPMS show, it's not a vignette because it doesn't have a base and it doesn't tell a story, but you need to judge more than just the helicopter or the truck. So I think it really, like you said, the AMP system lends benefit to the modeler and allows them to succeed in a very flexible manner. And, you know, I want to take this direction over to Jackson. You know, this being your first AMP show, you know, coming in, looking at the different levels, basic, intermediate, advanced, where did you find yourself? And then also tell us how you did.
All right, so I entered into intermediate. AMPS has some amazing descriptions on their website that really help you figuring out where you should enter. And I think I probably could have entered into advanced, but I was pretty comfortable in intermediate. And then I got gold for one of the models I had entered. So like Neil had said, that bumps me up to advanced for the next show I go to. So I completely agree with him in saying that you should definitely enter an intermediate and then go from there. If you get gold, then you get bumped up to the next one. And I just also wanted to add something to what's been said so far. I think it was David that said it's not really a contest, and I kind of wanted to emphasize that, because in that IPMS context, you're not just being judged on your model, you're being judged on your model and how it compares to the other models, which, you know, might lend to a situation where you have, okay, this model's really good, but it's not as good as these 3. And so even though you did an amazing model, there might be, you know, one minor thing that put the other ones over the edge and knocked you down to 4th. And so having that kind of rubric where you just get points and, you know, feedback on why you got the points you got, I think is just like the perfect system, and I love it.
For sure. We'll go up to Steve. You raise your hand.
Yeah. My friend Dave from New Jersey, he came, and you know, he's one of those guys that spends all his days being a chef, working long hours, and he spends all his off time building and painting. And you know, he loved model building, but I told him to come down to the show, hang out with me, and he did. And he entered. That was his first show ever. It was his first contest ever. And you know, he got, what did he got? Silver medal, Jackson.
Yeah, he got silver, I think, for both of them.
And you know, I've never participated in contests. It's not my thing. I don't enjoy the competing part. But this was really different. I thought it was fantastic, and I loved the comments that everybody made on all the judging sheets that I looked over from some of these guys that won. And I think it was a fantastic system. I loved it, and it encouraged all the modelers. All the comments were practical. They made sense. You know, it's like, yeah, okay, I can see that. I should have done that. You know, and it's a good learning experience.
I've even been to some IPMS local shows in the last couple of years where once we kind of got back to shows, where they have they still use the IPMS system, but they include comment cards. So the judges judge every model, and they might only pick first, second, and third, as is the IPMS way. But they also give feedback on the model. To me, like several people have said, that's the most important thing, is providing constructive criticism back to the modeler. Let's all try to make each other better here.
Right. Improve the skills, improve the community, and that's what it's all about. And it was fantastic to be there and meet all the East Coast guys that I only knew, from a mailing label or, a name on a Facebook group. And meeting all these people in person, it was just absolutely fantastic. It was a great community.
Yeah, and one of the things I think we should hit on too, and I'll kick it over to Jesse to talk about this because I believe he achieved it. Can you talk about the half point for bonus within the judging system, and tell our listeners, we kind of went over the general thing of judging, but judging, jump into the sheet, maybe talk about the major categories, and then that half point bonus at the end that I find is really unique.
Yeah, sure. So like many in IPMS do, people put together kind of brag books and kind of build photos and that sort of thing, kind of show what they've done, kind of emphasize where they've kind of taken the extra step. So here, let me grab one of my my judging sheets from a past show just to go over it. So the judging sheet's a little bit different based on if you have just a straight model or if you have a vignette or diorama, because they are those additional pieces of kind of groundwork, figures, kind of overall display, story in the case of diorama or whatnot. And then at the end, because AMPS theoretically is the Armor Modeling Preservation Society, there is a bonus for research. So what that does is, what you have to do is kind of describe some sort of reference that you've used, whether a book, a website, whatever, photo, and basically show, hey, I built the model using this as kind of a, if not necessarily the exact same, photo, using it as inspiration. So, there's some examples on the website, but, if you've got, there's some famous Shermans in Europe, I forget which unit they were with, but they've got the very large numbers on the side. So if you do, if you have a photo of 12 and you do one of, 11, so that way you can take some liberty with it, with camo or stowage or whatever, but you've kind of identified, here's the reference, here's what I've done on the model. It matches, based on this, and it could be markings, it could be, groundwork, if you've got a vignette or a diorama of where that unit was, it was winter, what have you. That's generally kind of that. But anyway, like Steve was saying, right now it's out of 10 points per judge, so he max scores 30, and there's that extra research is worth a half point. So on the Sherman build that I did, that was part of our group build, that one did get the extra half point, as well as the IDF Centurion that I had built as well.
Yeah, and for our listeners, a perfect score is at AMPS is no easy feat. So, kudos to you, Jesse, not once but twice, because I've never achieved it, and it's really tough. And you're a kick-ass.
Only the Sherman got to 30. The other ones were both golds, but they weren't 30s.
Okay.
But so actually, one thing I'll mention is Jackson kind of alluded to it, is this is the different skill sets. The point criteria to get the different bronze, silver, gold is different based on that point system. So, let's say, and I forget the numbers off the top of my head, but, a basic would need, let's say, 25 points in order to get a gold, whereas an intermediate might be 26 and a half, and a gold is, I forget, 28 or 28 and a half. Or
28 and a half.
Okay. Thanks, Neil. But so that we do try to, that way, we take into account that someone's experience or skill level.
Yeah, for sure. And once you get at the high level, gold and advanced is nearly a perfect model. I mean, it's very hard to do. And David, Bryan Bridges, how many golds did you pull away this time?
3. I took 4 models, but 2 are in one category. Everything rated gold, but the way AMPS works is if you enter 3 models in one category, they award you based on whatever your highest score was. And in that case, in that category, the T-34 I did got a 29, but I was really fortunate with a KV2 that I just finished, got a 30.5. And that's the first time I've been able to do that, so I was pretty stoked about that. I've never gotten a 30.5 before, so that was pretty sweet.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it was pretty cool.
So David, you were eligible for 2 and you got 2 golds. Jesse was eligible for 3 and got 3 golds.
Yeah,
I chose my models more strategically.
I got a silver. I'm like the biggest loser in the room.
Yeah, Steve says that and also took home best Russian. So So AMPS has it's the judging and it's all the open system with so basically everyone is eligible to get the various medals. At the end of that, there are a number of best of awards that are one is chosen and that is the one.
Yeah,
And,
I was on the committee that actually was doing the best ofs, and let me tell you, that was no easy task at all. Steve, your model was absolutely beautiful, but there were a bunch of contenders there. There was some heated debate, and then there's a group of about 6 or 7 of us, usually those who are the assistant chief judges who do the math and run the judging shifts. And we kind of get together, and eventually, after all that heated debate, we will vote on what is the best of each category, and you got it for best Russian or Soviet, and that was well deserved, my friend.
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thanks, man. It was a thrill. That was the highest award I've ever gotten, so that was a great thrill. Really, I'm very, very, very happy about that and flattered and all that stuff. But this is the part where it starts to become like IPMS. I've brought what I thought were better models in the past, and then a friend of mine, Mac Johnston, had scratch built some Russian tractor, and it was like, what are you kidding me?
When you get to the best ofs, that's where it does get competitive, because we're looking at 5 or 6 models that all got normally if you get a 30 or above, you're going to get landed on that table, and then you're going to look at the models, and it gets real nitpicky. I remember there are times when I can't believe I'm even pointing this out, but this is what we're down to differentiate between these models. It's kind of
So I had a very experienced AMPS guy tell me one time. He said, I've been in AMPS for many years. I've won many golds. He says, when I go to a show, my goal is that my model is considered for the best ofs. He goes, I don't have to win. As long as my model gets taken off the table into the back and considered, then I feel like I've hit my mark.
That's a really good point that Steve makes there, because this time I took 4 models, and when they were doing the best of awards, I noticed that all 4 had been taken back. And to me, that was one of the most exciting things I've ever had. And, I've been going to model contests since, I think, 1997. And for that, even though I didn't win any, I was like, I don't care. That was just so awesome that they were even in consideration, because who I was competing against for those best ofs, because that's the only time when AMPS really gets to be a competition is for those best ofs. Anybody beat me, that's fine, because that's 100% earned on their part, because they were all excellent models, and just to be considered and with those guys is an honor.
I'll tell you what, just pile on the point that's already been made. When I go to an AMP show, I really feel like my model is being stood up next to a yardstick. It's being judged on its own. If there's 50 other better models that day, mine is still going to get a look, and I'm still going to get some feedback that I can use. And, that's just what I like about it.
Yeah. Hey, one thing I want to, sorry, go ahead.
I just want to ask a question. I mean, it almost sounds like this has been a fascinating discussion, and I'm not trying to cause controversy and say IPMS is better or AMPS is better, but it almost sounds like, I think the term that was used was juried exhibition. It almost sounds like the modelers that are entering, if you consider them as the customers, they're getting a higher quality experience from the aspect of they're getting that feedback. They're getting measured against that yardstick. It's sort of a from a customer satisfaction standpoint, they're getting a better experience that way. What do you guys think about that?
I'll tell you the other side of the coin too, and you got a good point there. But David, Jesse, Neil, do you guys feel like when you go and judge at an AMP show, it's a tremendous burden, or is it a benefit?
It's a benefit.
100%. I absolutely love it. At the same time, it's a bit of a responsibility, because you've got to be fair and impartial. and at the same time, you've got to not cane the modeler. So, you got to be a little careful,
You really want to do it right, because
and given
someone's going to get something out
at
of
the
it.
end of the show, we're all drooling on ourselves because we're so tired. It's a burden, but it's a good burden.
Yeah.
So you go, I liken it to this. You go on a camping trip. If you don't help collect firewood, you're not going to be very popular. Well, when you go to AMPS, there are chores to be done. And just like at an IPMS show, so you say, look, these people put on the show. I'm going to do my part and judge. And then an IPMS show, by the end of the day, you feel like it wasn't a great joy. Just my experience.
Yeah.
And then at the AMPS show, I feel like the show was delivered to me, and I sat around with a bunch of my buddies and analyzed it and said, you know what, I really like what he did there. I really like what he did there. I'm taking all these lessons home, and judging is a joy.
Yep.
Yeah. I just want to note real quick, one of the first AMPS shows I judged, Mig Jimenez model came to my judging table.
Yep.
And it's like, whoa. And, you got your, your
martyr. Was that
so I had the Japanese tank he brought.
Oh, okay.
Same year he brought the Martyr and the Stug and the Mark IV, and he brought a Walker Bulldog too. And I just remember, it was, again, like you mentioned, it's a privilege, and you're there with, the kebab stick, like looking at things and pointing things out. And it's a bonding experience with your fellow modelers, and you leave the table not only, more satisfied at not only helping the show, getting to see what work there is, but, creating a special bond with a guy that you probably never met sometimes.
Right.
I will say, to be fair to IPMS, that's where I cut my teeth on judging, and I had judged at all levels at IPMS, local, regional, and national. And from that, I definitely learned how to become a very good builder, for sure, because when you get involved with the judging process there, you start to learn how to really develop a keen eye for this is not correct here, this is out of whack there. But then sometimes you kind of feel a bit of fatigue doing it, after 3 or 4 hours of judging in a national competition, of trying to find the smallest differences between these really excellent models and trying to boil them down to 1, 2, and 3. And you do get something out of that, but it almost is a little bit more negative feeling. Whereas with AMPS, I've always felt, I think my first AMPS show was back in 2013 in Atlanta, if I recall correct, that you get in there and you're looking at stuff, but you're not just looking at what divides this from something else. All you're thinking about is that one person's model and what did they do, and not what did they do wrong, but what did they do right as well. And then you get to leave them that feedback, and that plus the camaraderie you get with the judges, and it's the whole system. It just feels so much more positive.
Yeah.
That's why whenever I go to an AMP show, I think I did 4 or 5 judging and assistant chief judging shifts this time, because it's not a burden. It doesn't wear you out. You feel energized after it.
Yeah. So
I guess one other thing that I want to say is that, also if you're judging it, if you're not already an advanced modeler, you've been going to years and years and years, it's a great opportunity to sit there and get a close-up view for, I think typically we run about 6 to 8 minutes per model. Or you're talking to 3 other guys who may be more experienced than you, and you get to look up close about, how someone else did it. John, in your example of Mig Jimenez, and then, obviously there's lots of good stuff that comes across the table, and it's not just trying to find flaws, but you're also just seeing these guys' styles up close on a rotisserie with somewhat decent lighting, and you get to hey, what do you like? What do you not like? You kind of help to develop kind of your own style, which I found very, very helpful. I
will say this, and this, I'll be as positive as I can, but when you have a 1, 2, 3 system, you have to have precise wheel alignment, precise track alignment, or your model is not going to be a contender, and you may never hear what the real problem was if the issue is very small. The AMP system I've found, and I would say this about open judging systems, is that if your wheel is out of alignment, you're going to get a 0.5 point, maybe 1 point ding, and move on, and the whole model will be evaluated. So you can learn at each step of the way, and you'll get the feedback. But it encourages a modeler not to go buy the Tamiya kit because it's going to fit together like, laser straight, but to build the oddball subjects and the resin kit that really doesn't deserve to be completed.
And that's another
That's
interesting
good
part
That's
to
the
kind of
benefit of an open system in my
to
mind.
kind of dovetail with what Steve's saying. There is a degree of difficulty as part of it. You get some points for that, so there is some reward for saying, did you do something or attempt something that was more difficult, and that point isn't for how well you achieved it, but did you try for it? Did you swing for it?
Yeah.
And if you just went with something that was just fell together, you might not get as much. But if you really took a kit that needed work and added a lot and really went for it, regardless of how well you did, because those are covered in other categories of judging, that degree of difficulty is something that will reward you for taking some risk and trying to push yourself and to do more and to learn more, which I think is another great aspect of the judging.
And there are certainly times when, I've been sitting at judging tables and we've looked at it and he goes, oh my God, it's the such and such a kit. The guy deserves a medal just for completing it and not hurling it at the wall at high speed.
Probably the favorite model that I got to judge this year was a basic modeler. He did a Tamiya Panther G, and it was a basic model. It was someone who was just getting started out, but he tried some T-Rex, aftermarket tracks. He did some photo etch, and he actually applied the photo etch pretty well for a basic modeler, and did all these things. So we were able to give him more credit for trying all these things out. He swung for the fences, and at the same time, we were able to give him some pointers. And the way we did it on the judging team, there were 4 of us. He gets all of those judging sheets back when we're done to read our feedback, regardless of whose score gets thrown out. He gets to see everything, and we all divided it up and said, all right, well, you talk about this for him here, and I'll talk about this. And we had given the maximum number of comments that were different to kind of explain to him, hey, here's what you did good that we really liked, and here's some places where you can improve. But just doing that process for that guy, I hope it really meant something to him. I don't have a clue who it was, but I really liked it. They really swung for the fences, and they tried, and they were really into it. And I was like, this is awesome to be able to kind of give back to them and maybe try to boost them up and give them a path to having more fun with the hobby.
Hey, John Bonanni, you'll love this. I'm judging. I can't remember whether it was an intermediate or an advanced model, but a Panzer IV lands in front of me. It's converted from a J to a G. And I'm looking at it, and something from my childhood started to rattle around. I go, that's the monogram kit.
Oh yeah. So
it was nice.
Yes, that model was excellent.
Somebody took a monogram Panzer IV J, turned it into a G, and David, do you remember, Jesse, you remember seeing those figures?
Yes.
It was the original monogram. The officer standing up.
Like you'd see in a Shep Payne book.
Oh, it was ridiculous. It was.
That model's actually on the Plastic Posse group page. If you look through those posted pictures, I did the gray Panzer IV. That's the one he's talking about. Yeah. It was amazing that he did what he did with that kit.
I mean, there's your scope of effort. I mean, that
absolutely.
The scope of effort should have been points for courage.
So there are definitely points awarded for courage sometimes, because like I say, it's like, holy crap, this thing was just a square block of resin, and the guy basically chiseled the tank out of it.
So one of the things,
4 judges at the table bought it and threw it out, and this guy finished it.
Exactly.
I'm going to share my screen real quick, and I want to put this up. This is the best of show, and I believe Jeff was in the chat not too long ago.
Yeah, he's commented a couple times.
So for for the guys who attended the show, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and maybe everybody take a minute or two to tell me what you guys probably saw this piece. Tell me what you loved about it. Tell me why it was best of show.
It had feeling to it to me. I'm just kind of starting to getting into vignettes and dioramas, and that's one of the things I really enjoyed, was getting that feedback. It's the first time I've ever entered a vignette in a competition, and getting that feedback is great for me. But seeing this particular one, I definitely remember it. You don't see it in the picture there, but on the back side of that building, there's more. And the title Home Alone comes from the fact that there's a dead German soldier on the bottom that's been killed by these allies moving through the town. But in the upstairs part, there's a little kid in the corner, and he's surrounded by a bunch of his belongings. And it's just that it's not just the story there, Home Alone, you think the movie, and Macaulay Culkin and all that, but it's this kid that's by himself, and it's that, that storytelling impact that's supposed to be in a diorama.
Yeah.
This one had it. And when it won Best of Show, I was like, yeah, that totally makes sense.
I remember seeing this on the table and looking at it and going, oh yeah, nice diorama. And then, it came into the best ofs, and we were judging it, and it got best dial. And then somebody turns it around because Jeff, genius, you put it on a turntable, and he spun it around, and he goes, look, and we saw the kid hiding in the attic, from hiding from the war. And I just threw up my hands. I'm like, all right, that's it. I'm done. This is genius.
And to add to that, Neil, I think one of the things that really made this diorama awesome for me was that it's one of those ones where every time you look at it, you see something you didn't notice before. And when I first saw this, I saw the title Home Alone, and I see the dead German gunner, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And then when Steve got to the show, I brought him over to like, hey, look at this, it's really cool. And he was like, yo, look at that kid in the attic. And I was like, I didn't even notice that before. Yeah. And it's like the fact that you can interpret the diorama either one of those ways is just so cool. And the fact that, like I said, you look at it and you see something new every single time, and it's just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I said to Jeff in the bar afterwards, I said, there was a lot of beautiful craftsmanship on the tables, but he took it to art, and that was the thing that pushed it over the top for me.
And there again, on any other day, that could have been Jesse's model, because Jesse's model, to me, it when a model leaves you with kind of an emotional experience, it's something a little bit different, a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is gorgeous.
And that was just the quality of the stuff. Like, it was brutal. That best in show discussion, as we were trying to figure out and differentiate between the different models there, it was tough. That's where somebody said is the judging a burden. At that point, it was a burden I was really honored to be part of, but it was tough, man.
Yeah, it was a great piece, and Jeff's a great modeler. He's been very close a number of times. But yeah, this was sitting right next to my Sherman, and we were kind of just trading back and forth. It's actually the same Tasca kit that I used, and we were just like, oh, what'd you do here? What'd you do here? And I mean, it was great. This was a really, really nice piece. The whole building is scratch built, and also just in general, the display was very, looked like a professional. You can see, obviously the placard on the front. There's a couple other things that he had there, at the table that it looked great. And and I got a chance to talk to Jeff quite a bit after in the evenings at the bar. So that was a good time.
So then Jeff gets promoted to AMPS Master, and that's a lifetime honor. He doesn't.
That is correct.
That's it.
Yeah, and let's focus on that for a minute. Talk about I'd point maybe to you, Steve or Neil. Give us a flavor of what an AMPS Master is. What does that mean? And then what going back to a show, how are they judged, and how is it a little bit different than everybody else?
It's a little bit different in that they compete only with the Masters, and they can only get a gold medal or nothing. Is that right, Neil?
That is correct. Yeah. So once you win Best in Show at the national show, yes, you are promoted to the Masters category. At that point, you are. It's a lifetime achievement. You are the only award you will get at that point will be a gold or not. And you are judged by other AMPS Masters.
And you're still eligible for Best of Show because there have been a couple repeats AMPS Masters a couple of years in a row.
That is correct.
You're going way back. When you read that list of names that are AMPS Masters, you'll recognize every one of them.
Yep. One of the things I think maybe this was contender for Best of Show as well, because I think I see some value gear on there as well. Let's not forget about Steve Munsell in the room.
That explains it all. And you know what? No matter how much value beer I put on mine, I never go near that. So, Jackson, you got to tell us about the social life down there. What was it like hanging out with all the old dudes?
Honestly, it was awesome. I was talking to a few of these guys earlier about it, and I mean, like I said, I've never really had that experience before. I'll have brief conversations with people at IPMS shows, but I mean,
so what you're saying, Jackson, is you've never hung out with that many old people in your life?
Pretty much, yeah. Like I think you're all on a list now, actually. So just wanted to make sure you knew. But no, I mean, like hanging out with Steve throughout the day, just sitting at his booth, and then we went to a Mexican restaurant right after, got some good food, and we're talking. And
I mean, a good place.
Steve put it almost perfectly when I left. He was like, I'm glad you hung out with us. Like, we're your people. And I'm like, that is exactly true. Like, these are the people that I can talk to about the things that I'm passionate about, and they know exactly what I'm saying. I've got plenty of friends who are supportive of me and my hobbies, but if I go start talking to them about, a Tamiya kit, they're going to have no idea what I'm talking about. And it's just a different type of friendship that, is just something everyone should have. And I think AMPS is an amazing place to get that.
Yeah, for sure. And, I want to kick it over to Steve Munsell. I think he's in a unique position as a manufacturer, as selling stuff. Tell us about your experience, meeting customers and then seeing the work of your customers on the table.
Oh, I love it when I go out and I see stuff on the tables and the different ways people use it, because, I'm never one that wants everybody to build a tank a certain way or the same thing that they always saw in a picture. I want people to experiment with it, mix and match. And, it's just cool to see it used in so many different ways. But yeah, it's just cool to see it. It was just fantastic. I mean, I was going to ask, like, how many models were on the tables there, because it was loaded.
We had a total of 532 models entered.
Okay. And no airplanes. It was fantastic.
It was not our biggest show ever. That was Dayton a few years back.
Yeah.
But but it was up on the last show, which was in Buffalo. So it was nice to see. And, like I said, it was just great to get together with everybody again. Oh, and good to see the Mexican restaurant here. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that place was fantastic. Even like I'm a vegetarian, but even the Brazilian meat sword place was awesome. The salad bar was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
And we had the VIP upper booth.
Yeah.
And it went up top.
It looks like a jail with the bars.
Yeah, it kind of does. Probably was.
You got to keep them in the cage.
Yeah.
Well, that was to keep the model miscreants out.
Yeah, better lock the tank geeks away.
Yeah. But we got to talk about what Jackson did to Angel. I mean, Angel's the nicest guy you'll ever meet, and Jackson just broke the man's heart. I mean, Jackson's such an outstanding young guy. He's done so much. He's 22 years old. And Angel's like, he's done more than me by 22 than I've done in my whole life. And, so after that, I mean, me and my friend Dave and Angel were texting each other, and we just kept coming up with so many ridiculous things that Jackson was amazing at that he doesn't even know about. And it's like, yeah, Jackson's building a monogram kit, like, while he's skydiving, and he's setting up a first aid station in Ukraine in between like his classes, But yeah, I don't know. It was really good to meet such an outstanding young guy like that.
Well, thank you, Steve. Thank you.
I look forward to seeing what you're going to do from here.
Yep. It's good to know that the modeling community is not composed entirely of old farts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he can be around to bury us all.
Well, he's gonna get famous doing something amazing, or be president, and we can all, he'll take care of us, set up an old folks home for us or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
old folks home or mental asylum, one of the two.
Yeah, but modeling there, that's what's important. So,
there's another picture I want to share too, and DB, I'm gonna steal some from your page.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I look at this photo, it's really telling to me, and I think what jumps out the most is, what do you notice with most of these models? The base. There's a lot of bases there, and I love it. And I think it goes back to, and maybe you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes when you go to an IPMS show, you don't really see this. You see a lot of models on pieces of paper, where here it's like mini vignettes, mini stories, and I love this photo. I think it really tells a great story in itself.
One of the things that we have tried to encourage over the years with AMPS is to get people to put their models on a base. One reason for that is because there is a bunch of handling required.
Yep.
Right. So all right. We can put it on a tray and we pass it through the system, and we try not to handle the model any more than we absolutely have to. But but putting it on a base makes that a lot easier, because you can pick up the base and you can put the model where it needs to be, and so on. I remember. There's my KD. But thank you. But yeah, I remember years ago, a guy did a sectioned Panzer III. It was like 12 inches high, and he did not attach the various sections to the wire frame that he had composed to put all this thing on. Yeah, kind of like that. And we were all terrified of breathing on the model in case the top section fell off. So it's great to have things on a base and a little bit secure, so that as we move them around the show and out to the tables, we just don't give the judges a nervous break.
That Panzer IV there made me legit nervous, because you walked up to it and it's that picture there that I took 2 pictures of that, and there's a little tab that you don't see in that picture, a little metal tab that says basically "pull me," and I'm like, is this for real? Is this like a trap or something? And you pull it, and the whole, like, it's originally at first it's staggered so you can see everything, but as you pull the tab, it moves everything on top, like you see right there. And I was like, that's pretty clever. That's really neat. But I was so damn nervous. I was like, no one's telling me not to, and I really, really want to. So I'm gonna take a chance and do it. And I was glad I did. I was like, that's really cool, man, because I've got the little skirt armor hanging off there and everything. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's the way it was when you walk up and you pull the tab and the whole thing slides over. I was like, that is just damn clever to
if anything
set it up
falls
like
off,
that.
you're running into the next room.
Oh yeah, I'm looking. I'm not making eye contact, and I'm leaving. Yeah, but it was they're really clever, because doing a vehicle with an interior is always challenging. Of how do I show off this work while still people getting the idea of what this thing's going to look like when it's assembled. And the way he did that was super clever. And that was, I believe that was one of the Masters entries, if I recall correctly.
It was, and I know he's kind of well known for. I think he won his Masters a number of years ago with I believe it was a Panzer I or a Panzer II that was done similarly.
And that was one of the things I thought was nicest about this show. I feel like in the ones that I've been to, I felt like there were more Masters on display than there probably have been in years past. And again, that may be because of the delay with all COVID and everything. But that was really cool. I especially enjoyed seeing all of David Vickers' dioramas that he had brought. His stuff is always just really amazing. But just all of them in general, all the Master stuff was really, really cool. That's one of them there. Yeah.
Those were very well done.
Dave does beautiful work. And is a total A-class individual. He really is.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
I love his awardee sponsors.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that the Marine Corps one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did have a slight battle injury over that, because when Chuck Rothman was handing that over to him, he accidentally put his hand on the blade of the knife.
Oh gosh.
So yes, K-Bar, we said it's a battle wound. We're going to give you a Purple Heart.
So I want to go around the room, with the vendor table, picture here. I'd love to go around a room. We're going to steal a phrase from our sister podcast, The Mojo. What broke your wallet at this show? And maybe, Jackson, we'll go to you first.
I knew it would be me. All right, I got it right here. This is what broke my wallet.
Ooh.
I have been looking for this book for so long, and I found the second edition for, I think it was $100. Now, the thing about getting that book is I don't actually have an Israeli Sherman in my stash, so I immediately went and bought one of those too. No, so I bought one right after. I was like, I have to if I have the book. So those two things combined, that basically wiped out my wallet.
Nice. David, how about yourself?
I failed utterly in the vendor room this time. The only thing I was really going to look for this year was Tamiya's M18 Hellcat. And the only one that could be found was over at the David Doyle books. He was doing a raffle for one, and that was the only one in the house as far as I could tell. And, of course, I didn't win. So I bought some paints, and I eventually ended up buying an old Dragon Kugelblitz, the original one, not the new one, because I had built that back in high school and made a mess of it. I was like, well, maybe I can actually build it correctly this time and do something decent with it. And I bought a couple of little odds and ends, but yeah, I really didn't buy a lot. It wasn't for lack of stuff being there. There was definitely a lot of stuff that I thought about. I've just been kind of getting a little bit pickier about how I spend my money lately.
Well, when you own everything, I mean, you got a library.
Yeah, eventually you run out of stuff. Yeah.
So I'm going to be a plug for a second, David. Angel, the guy we were talking about earlier, I don't know if you know him.
Yeah.
He actually just got his Hellcats in stock. So he was telling us
I
about that.
saw it. Sprue Brothers, I think it's on Facebook today saying they're available for pre-order. So I instantly went to Sprue Brothers and pre-ordered it because that's one of the few kits that I've been waiting for a long, long time.
Get the death models decals as well.
Yes.
Yeah, our black art, right, JB?
Yeah, I think Jeff Feller's right there. I think probably next year about half the entries will be Hellcats because I think everybody's been waiting for one of those for sure.
But yeah, the other thing that popped up apart from the Hellcats was the Tamiya KV2. Apparently there was a container load of Tamiya stuff which was floating off of the port of Los Angeles for the last month, and turned up. The distributors got their stuff like Monday or Tuesday.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, and we got to give a special plug for Value Gear himself with that new M18 set.
Yep, got that. Ready to go for once I'm ahead of the kits arriving. So,
Are those on sale yet?
No, but if somebody really wants it, they can just email me and we'll sort it out. But I'm trying to take pictures, but I'm just so busy. Yeah, TJ's got one.
I've got one
for my Hellcat
on your page, Steve.
Right there.
Say again.
I've been waiting for it to pop up on your page because I've got. It's funny. I don't have the Hellcat yet, but I've got all the update sets for it, and now I want to get the stowage set as well.
Well, if you, I don't know where you live, but if Angel's still got some. If you're going to the Fairfax show, he's going to be there.
Okay, I'll talk to Angel. Cool.
Yeah. You might want to give him a heads up and get him to hold it aside for you.
Yeah. So Jesse, what broke your wallet at the show?
So at the AMPS Atlanta show a couple months ago, we had the trip down to Fort Benning into the main collection, and I took advantage of that. I took the day off from work and took advantage of that, and I took a ton of pictures of. They've got an M60 with a dozer blade on it, and then they had another M60 that has a lot of the ERA, and so I found the TAC home kit. So I found it's also about the thickest box I could find. This thing's massive. But yeah, this is the one. And I unlike many modelers, I do not have a large stash. I was joking that with the one kit, like, man, I increased my stash by like 20% with one kit. So it was good.
We all envy you because I think that's the way we should be.
Yeah, I think.
Jesse, I didn't see which Take-Home M60 was that?
It's the basically the Desert Storm, the M60A1 with the ERA and the dozer blade.
It's a great kit, by the way.
Yeah, everything I read about it, and I was talking to some buddies that I was walking around with, said the TACOM kits are very nice. So yeah, looking forward to putting that one. I mean, I'm a pretty slow builder, so I mean that's probably a couple years away. We'll see. We'll figure it out.
Nice. Now you think about getting T-Rex tracks for it? I don't know if they have M61s out yet, but I'm sure they'll be on the horizon. Oh no, of course. About a couple hours after I bought it, I got the AFE Indie Links. Oh, nice.
So I'll do that.
I built rules for mine. They were a pain in the ass. They look nice. They look really nice though.
Yeah. One of the buddies I was with had, he's built, I think, 2 or 3 of the Tacom kits. He's like, just get those. They're good. There's some sinkholes in them, like a lot of the AFE track, IndyLink tracks, but yeah, I'll manage.
Nice. So, Steve, you're back. Let's hear what broke your wallet at the show. What'd you buy?
I got a few of the mini art accessory sets that might become hard to get soon. The welders and the cable reels and boxes and that kind of stuff. And you were doing when you did your Butte Panzer Sherman the other day, John, you were talking about your favorite oil brushers or Dust and Starship Filth.
Oh yeah.
So I went over to Angel's table and he had Starship Grime and Dust Effect or something like that. And I said, well, that must have been what John was talking about. So I bought it. And then a couple hours later, I come down by his table again and he's got some more stuff out and he's got exactly what you were talking about. So I bought that. So, overbuying on paint products.
That is the one thing that I found that I've been looking for a while is a damn tube of Starship Filth oil paint. I have not been able to find that anywhere. And Angel had a tube, and I was like, all right, that's mine. And I grabbed it and ran. So that was definitely one of my better purchases.
Yeah, I don't know whether it was Dayton or whether it was Buffalo, but Dave Youngquist did a figure painting seminar, and he talked about Starship Filth. And then you went back to Angel's stand, and all the stuff. There was a horde around there, buying the Starship Filth.
Yeah, it's the most universal weathering color known to mankind.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think. I mean, I know I left home with a ton of money and came home with none, but it was probably beer.
I spent all my money on the raffle. So.
It looked good. The raffle looked great.
It was awesome. Yeah, I got a couple books and decals, and I just give it to my friend, other people that wanted it. And, I brought home just a couple kits, a modern armored car and German SWS half track.
Nice. You probably had to barter with the flight attendant to get a seat, so I'm sure you lost some of your raffle stuff that way too.
Yeah. They gave me the shakedown.
Nice.
There's some Delta flight attendant wearing one of Steve's new T-shirts. Right?
Actually, the best thing I got the whole place were all these little mixing bottles.
Oh yeah.
Big ammo looking mixing bottles or whatever. Because I like my own colors and I never have anything to put them in. So.
Nice. And last but not least, Neil, what'd you buy there? I mean, I think you have everything except a real tank, probably.
A fairly expensive stash, as my wife will attest to. It was the funny thing, though. There were no Tamiya M18s. So what did I do? I bought one night. I came home from the show, and she's like, "You got a lot of nerve, Bucko." But no, I won the old Berlinden M68-3 book in the raffle, and so after that, I went looking, and Angel happened to have an M60, a Tacom M68-3 with a dozer blade, so I grabbed that. Not that I'm a major modern armor guy, but I got something about the Cold War stuff, so that was kind of cool. And the other thing was the Gene Bagnoli had the Hobby Boss Vickers Medium Mark II Special. Now the Australians, and as you know, I am an Australian, had a variant of that. So I've got to do a little bit of modification to the kit. But I've been thinking about it for a while, and like the only prices I could see were insane. So I said to Gene, "Hey, Gene, what are you going to do?" And I won't go through the whole machinations on the dollars, but he quoted me a price. I said, "Gene, I can't in good conscience buy that kit off you for that price." And he said, "Well, you can't have the kit then," and took it back. So, and I said, "All right, I can't even make change on that. I will give you, X dollars more." And he goes, "Well, you still can't have the kit." I'm like, "Gene, I'm telling your wife." And so then we negotiated, and I bought the model off him for a very good price. But yeah, I did well. I was a very happy camper coming home.
So
That's
Gene
awesome.
must be related to Steve. If anybody's ever bought anything from Steve, you've got to reverse negotiate, because he'll have a set of resin for $20. So you'll hand him a 20, and then he'll like keep throwing stuff at you. You're like, no, Steve, stop.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same way. But,
Neil, I almost bought that kit out from under you. I just wanted to build the Vickers Mark II, and I saw it, and he offered me a price for it, and I was like, I've already spent too much money, so I didn't, but I'm glad you got it.
Yeah. Well, now I've got to figure out exactly how to flip the turret front plate, because the Australians, for some obscure reason, put the coax machine gun on the other side. And so I'm going to have to cut that out and create a new front plate with the coax aperture and the sighting aperture reversed.
Wow. I'm glad I didn't buy it then.
If you were doing it as a British version, the kit is entirely fine.
Right.
The Australians are weird. Maybe it's because we're upside down on the
on the world. You're on the bottom of the world.
That's weird. That is weird.
We're really good at hanging on to the earth with our toes, that sort of thing.
So I have another general question for AMPS. You guys went there, you broke your wallet, you saw stuff you love, but let's focus on, if you could pick one piece at the show that really spoke to you. It could be super simple. It could be, the winner of Best in Show. Like, what was your piece that you thought, like, oh man, I am happy to see this on the table? And I'm afraid to pick somebody first because they're probably thinking about it. But go ahead, Steve. We'll start with you.
Jason. I don't know his last name, but we spent a bit of time at dinner with him. Is Jason what?
Jennings.
He did and it's a T something. I don't know Modern Armor, but a T something, and it's blown up and it's Clash at the Border.
Yeah, it's the Chinese main battle tank. ZTC something.
Yeah,
ZTC
it was
99, I think. Yeah,
I thought that was really well done. I thought that was a fantastic build.
It was the border box art, except the tank was blown.
Oh,
up.
yeah.
The one where the San Diego's in the back, San Francisco Bay Bridge is in the background.
Yeah,
that was the People's Choice Award winner.
That's awesome.
It was cool.
Nice.
Very
Jackson.
cool.
Jackson, how about yourself?
I was looking through my photos to see if I could decide. There were so many that like really spoke to me. I think the one that got me the most was someone had built, I think it's TACOM did the flak towers in Berlin.
Yep.
And someone did, I think it was the Zoo Tower in like
Chuck
January. In January of 45. And it was just, it's a new kit. It was something different. They used the precision snow, which is something that I've been like really considering buying lately. So seeing it on a model, I was like, damn it, now I kind of have to. So I think that was probably my top one.
Nice. Speaking of precision snow, I won the auction in our charity build for it, and it's on the way.
Awesome.
TJ, so I'm ready for that.
Hey, I have another one to mention too. The Vietnam one with the trees, or Korean War, Vietnam.
Red on red.
With the turtles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was unbelievable. That was crazy.
Oh, with the I think I have it right here. I'm gonna share my screen.
Yeah, that's the first picture I took, I think.
Yeah.
I've seen that. That was at the Old Dominion Open.
It was, yeah. They had all the snakes with the little locations for them and whatnot.
This one?
That's the one.
Yep, that's the one.
Wow. What scale was this?
135th.
It's 135.
Wow.
It's large.
I was gonna say it has to be huge.
Yeah, the work they did on the trees and everything was just fantastic.
It's pretty mind blowing in person.
Yeah.
To get 135th scale trees looking that real is just insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Neil, what was your favorite one?
Well, I'm going to do a bit of a cop out, because honestly, I was running around like a chicken with its head chopped off most of the show, so I didn't get to see a lot of the models until afterwards when people started posting things on Facebook. But the thing that sticks in my mind most is Jeff Feller's Home Alone.
Yeah,
that just blew me away. Like I said before, I liked all the craftsmanship. I revolved it around, and then I saw the kid in the attic, and that was just like, bam.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I'll try to find some close-up pictures of it. Steve, what do you think? What's yours?
Yeah, again, a little bit of a cop out. I really like that People's Choice one that Steve Munsell liked, but apart from that, I'll tell you this is kind of going to be a cop out as well. I have many, many, many old friends at that show, and then there was Jackson there that I just met, and David and Jesse for the first time, and I've known Neil for a long time. I walk around with my friends and I say, "What'd you bring?" And they show me, and then in the award ceremony to sit there and watch a parade of my buddies going up. There's just so many. That's more important than the model is just to see that your friends are enjoying the hobby as much as you are. It's just awesome.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's the most fun of these shows.
It is, man. When I could talk about Tony Zadro's stuff.
Oh yeah, Tony's great.
An AMPS
oh
master.
Yeah.
And he had 3 models there that, each one of them. Tony is. You can't pick out what Tony's best ability is. His figures are off the charts. His diorama bases are off the charts. His stowage is off the charts. He's picking this crazy difficult plus model resin Italian vehicle. It's articulated in the middle. It's got these giant wheels. It's just crazy.
That trench digger was insane.
So it's Tony in the background there.
Yeah, that's Tony right there.
Yep. So if you zoom in the foreground, there's the model right in dead center in the foreground. Immediately to the right of that should be the Italian vehicle that Tony did. And then his STZ tractor with the Katyusha and a Soviet modern trenching engineering vehicle. Each one of them, I think that the one in the middle, the Soviet entrenching vehicle, was what he got the highest award for, but it was just crazy.
Yeah.
His stuff is nuts. I mean,
I tell you what, you were mentioning, if this is the Masters table, this is the most Masters I've ever seen in one place.
And that's not even all of it.
That's crazy. Because usually there's 2 or 3. I feel like in Buffalo there was only 1.
I got there early Friday afternoon. They couldn't accept my models into the show. After a little while, they did, and then there were, I want to say, 9 8-foot tables piled with model entries that the judges were waiting to get to, and we judged until 10:30 Friday night.
10:45.
Yeah.
Wow.
I bailed early.
Jeez.
Yeah, I was actually like, guys, what ended up happening was we kind of finished up, and then people just started sitting at the tables and chatting, and I'm like, no, get out, go to the bar, we need to lock the room. It's like,
yeah. It's neat. It's neat to walk into a restaurant or a bar nearby an event that big, and I'm sure the same thing goes on at IPMS. But a group of 6 of us on Saturday night walked into that Mexican restaurant, and there were 6 other show attendees there, and they just waved us over and said, "We've got 6 seats over here. Come on over." And then we had a table of 12, and that's the picture that was shown earlier with Steve on the right, Jackson on the left, and the guys up in the back were guys that I knew from New Hampshire, Vermont area, and they invited us over. It was just awesome. I think they invited Steve Munsell over because they wanted some value gear swag.
Right.
It's just a tremendous event.
They picked Steve Munsell up by the legs and just shook him. See what
falls out. There wasn't any money in there. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, you mentioned that, Steve. I remember the Buffalo show where you go into the main lobby there, and the whole lobby atrium bar area is just AMPS folks, and I'm sure that's going to happen out in IPMS, the Nats in Omaha. So, and that's definitely the best part of it. And like you said, for a group of guys to not even know you really, to wave you over to the table just shows again the camaraderie that the show builds and exemplifies for that matter.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now Jackson has so many people, he's taken care of. I feel like he also got volunteer hours for something. He's probably actually convicted of some crime and has to do community service. And
that's all it is.
Yeah. Going
Yeah.
there and taking care of grandpas and, you know, escorting them around and making sure that they're happy. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. You can get some college credits for taking care of senior citizens.
Yeah.
But, you know, we joke, it's interesting. And Jackson, I'm so, to be honest, I'm really happy to hear that you had a great time, because I think one of the barriers that we hear about a lot is, you know, cliques of modelers. And we, you know,
Right.
to be honest, we're probably all guilty of it. You know, we have our friends, but, you know, to be warmly accepted and now you have a group of friends that is only going to get bigger and bigger every year is really awesome and tells a lot about the society itself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that's really awesome. And I think, you know, everyone in the hobby should do the best they can to, when they have someone new to the hobby or new to the community, they should do their best to kind of introduce them to their friends and stuff. And I really have to thank Steve Reid a lot for that. I mean, anytime someone would come over and talk to him, which mind you is a lot of people, every single time without fail, he'd say, you know, hey, this is my friend Jackson. He brought a few models, and then they'd be like, oh, let me see them. And then now I know another person. And so I think
introduced you to me exactly the same way.
right. Yeah. I mean, it was textbook, and it's something that I think this hobby really needs. I think that community aspect is awesome.
For sure.
So
For sure.
really, let me tell you the completely selfish view of this too. Jackson and Zach Grizzle, that I've also met, they're good.
God
modelers.
bless you.
They're damn good modelers. You know, both IPMS and AMPS are going to be better as those guys develop. I mean, they're already good. They're. It's not like we're bringing our kid brother here. This guy is an equal in every way. 30 years younger than me. It matters not. You know, he's a tank modeler.
You know, Jackson, you got to be careful.
Encourage a guy like Jackson and Zachary to stay engaged.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I'm going to recruit him to the IPMS
Maximize the
board. So
we
He's got him for
Doug
your
Hensel
job.
from our local New Jersey club. You know, he came down. This is his first Nats. He had an absolute ball. He entered in basic, which I think he should have entered in intermediate. But he won a gold for his Tiger One, and he's a little older than you, Jackson. He's 26, but he does phenomenal work. The first time he came to our local club, he was showing us a bunch of the things that he had scratch built in 1/72 scale. I'm like, okay, wow. You are definitely of our tribe.
That's awesome.
Well, and guys, you know, to go back to what John was saying is, you know, there's not a lot of Zach Grizzles in Jackson right now. And so to take him under your wing and make him feel like a part of the community is so important. You know, a lot of the younger builders are coming to the hobby in different ways than all of us did. You know, they're wargamer mini painters or they're Gundam builders, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But we need to make sure that, you know, we're taking care of the younger guys and helping them and make sure that they do feel a part of this. So,
and you know what, those things, those other avenues that they're entering into the community with, they bring stuff. And you know, we can learn from them too.
TJ's under attack.
Not to knock his Sherman off again.
Yeah. That's not actually the one that did it.
I was going to say, I'd mentioned I'd been to a few IPMS shows, and every year I kind of have this thing where I'll look for people that I'm like, okay, they're probably like roughly my age. And every single year without fail, I've seen more and more people that have been in my age range. And I definitely think, we need to find a way of bringing them in. And I think, just having podcasts and live streams and, you know, social outreach and all that stuff is perfect.
But also, you know, you see things like, you know, people coming in through World of Tanks. You see people coming in through Warhammer 40K, the Maschinen Krieger guys who, you know, I know a lot of you guys are into that as well. Whatever. It doesn't matter how you entered into the geekdom. you are still part of our tribe.
Right. Yeah. And even I've got a lot of friends that are really into tanks, and just have never given modeling a try, and I'm like kind of pushed them to do it. And I think there's a lot of people out there like that are into World of Tanks and War Thunder, and just haven't really even considered it as a hobby. So
yeah, and I got to say, one example you mentioned, Neil, bringing people into the tribe. A good example, we met a fellow, Scott and I, up in Seattle. His name's Josh. All he built was Gundams, sci-fi stuff, and what happened though after he talked to us and saw our work on the table? Well, what do you know? He went to Hobby Lobby and picked up his first tank kit, and now he's looking at another one. So, it's always very encouraging to encourage other modelers of any genre to jump in, because that happened with me and Machining Krieger. Now I've spent all my money on that and I haven't bought any armor kits. So, and I'm happy about it. But that's really important. Like you said, Neil, is making people feel welcome, and Jackson encouraging people to try it out, and showing the sense of community and showing the support network. In all honesty, that's what it is in a lot of cases, and just the positive vibes around it. It's just a lot of fun, and we are chomping at the bit to get to Omaha. I've only had one show this year. I'm going through withdrawal, and I can't wait to see most of you folks out there, because it's going to be an incredible experience. And Scott's multitasking because he builds slower than a tortoise. Sorry, Scott. So
guilty.
Don't pick on Scott too much, man, because I'm trying to multitask too. I'm about the same speed. So.
Yeah, but, Scott just totally dumped the whole thing over the transoms onto you tonight, John.
I'm okay with
multitasking.
that.
I was multitasking, but Grizzle yelled at me for it. So
called you out. So you started slamming
he
brews.
did. Yeah.
Tell me he needs to finish that Sherman before I finish.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he can't talk at all. He needs to be working on stuff.
Seriously, I think we can hand make a new one. I think actually the Australian Armor Museum rebuilds 1-to-1 scale ones faster than he can finish something.
Oh hell!
Has anyone suggested that he put a hedgerow cutter on his Sherman? I think
that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
It's always good to see a hedgerow.
I gotta tell you guys, I'm heading back to Australia in a few weeks' time, because I haven't seen my family down there in like 2.5 years. But I am seriously considering a stop in Cairns on the way back.
Do it.
Yeah, do it. Do it.
I'm jealous it's on the other side of the world, or I'd be there tomorrow.
It is. Now, I got to tell you, my house and my parents' house are within 100 miles of the exact opposite point on the Earth's surface.
Wow.
Well, I'm just saying I may have issues. I moved out of home, way out of home, but yeah, it's going to be good to get together
for sure. And I already look forward to next year. I think I'm going to fly over. I'm trying to figure out what the best airport is to fly into, because it is in Harrisburg, right?
Harrisburg is like 30 minutes away.
Okay. Yeah. I love direct flights, though. I'm not.
You can't get a direct flight into Harrisburg from anywhere.
I might fly in and crash at TJ's place for a day, and then
it's
road
like
trip up with
an
him.
hour and a half from my house.
Oh, that's perfect.
It's so close.
Yeah,
it's closer than Richmond.
It's about 2.5 hours from me.
Nice. Maybe we'll get Steve to fly out too.
That's right.
Which show?
AMPS next year.
Oh yeah. I'm definitely doing
Pennsylvania.
it. After this time, I'm in. I'm going. I'm even going to go to ArmorCon too. So.
Oh, nice.
Dude,
I'm going to try to go to anything that's 2 days or more. I'm going to try to get to. So.
We're ArmorCon is always a good gig. We the last show, which we held in October of last year. Last year. We had to move venues because the old hotel closed. Mm-hmm. Much to the chagrin of everybody, including their staff. Our show chairman got a call from them, like, just to let you know, we just all got fired.
That's nice.
And so we moved 20 minutes further east, up into from Danbury to Southbury, Connecticut. But it's another really good venue. Everything is tight in one place, and it's another community show. Everybody turns up and takes on the conversations that they left off the previous year.
Yep.
Nice. Jesse, I want to kick it over to you. You're mentioning you're from the Atlanta area. What about the Atlanta AMPS guys? Do they host? When's their show every year?
It's early in the year. I want to say I think it was the last weekend in February this year.
Okay.
And it's kind of it's a nice break for those in the up north to get a little bit better weather. It was still down in the 40s at night, but it's a break from at least from the snow typically.
And that's a one dayer.
No, it's 2 days.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Nice.
And then the biggest thing is that typically we pair up with the soldier show, so a big figure show,
Cool.
which is always great. And I mean, and those guys, whereas the AMPS had, I forget the number of tables or whatnot, but I mean, the figures have probably 3 times as many. And a lot of the guys out of Chicago come down.
Oh, nice.
So I mean, we get some really high end figures, which is just really, really nice to see and cool. And it makes it it feels like a big show.
Yeah. Then I'll have to check it out. That's an easy flight from Denver.
Yep. A lot of times they will do. I know the figure painters typically will do like a painting seminar. And 1 year it's flats, and 1 year it's other figures and that sort of thing. And then we're trying to do the guys in the club who have some connection to Benning are trying to set up where try to time that with getting into an open house into the main collection piece.
That's awesome. You mentioned one thing here, and I know we're going long, but one of the topics that we didn't cover, and we could maybe do it real quick, seminars. What was the seminar at the show? I think I saw Steve Zaloga. Was he giving a presentation?
He was there, but and you're talking about the AMPS just now.
Yeah.
I know Steve was there, but I don't.
Steve did not present.
Okay.
Let me think. We had
Tom Gannon.
We had Tom Gannon. We had. I'm trying to go in order here. George Ironman did modeling trees and water, which was well received. We had moi. I did Lend-Lease vehicles in Soviet service. We had the folks from Benning came on and did
nice.
Talked about the Armor and Cavalry Heritage Foundation and what they're doing down there, which is freaking awesome.
About time. Yep.
They have such a great facility, and they've got buy-in from the Army who are using it as a training support facility. But they're doing restoration work. They're just doing brilliant stuff. We had the American Heritage Museum Foundation. The folks up in Stowe, Massachusetts, who got a lot of the Littlefield collection, and they're talking about what their plans were. We had Cookie. We had Tom. Trying to think who else we had. I'd have to go look on the website there, but we had a bunch of really good speakers.
Nice. That's awesome. That's always one of the benefits of the show too, is, you get those subject matter experts, and especially if it was Rob Cogan that gave the
Yes,
speech.
it was.
Oh, that's awesome. He's a good guy.
Rob Cogan and Ricky, I'm trying to think, Ricky Young, who was the retired Command Sergeant Major,
Nice.
who chairs the Heritage Foundation, versus Rob, who is the military side of it.
Nice.
So it was. We had some very, very good speakers.
Well, that's awesome.
We were really chuffed. Brian Eberly, who he was Brian's a great guy.
He's a Pittsburgh guy. I know him well.
He came on in South Bend last year when we had the Super Regional, and it was his first AMP show, and he was like, "I just love this. How can I get involved?" Well, actually, I think first he said, "Oh, I'm coming to ArmorCon." And he came to ArmorCon, and then he said to me, "How can I get involved?" I said, I'm given the fact that I took on the role as first VP for the organization, I need somebody to backfill as the seminar coordinator. So he's like, "Okay, I'm in," and he organized all of these folks and just did a tremendous job. And of course, now we made him secretary of the organization, so. Now we're probably looking for another seminar coordinator.
Nice. Well, gents, this has been great. We're going on a little bit over an hour and a half, and I want to thank you all for your time. I think we had a great discussion around an awesome show. I certainly look forward to next year's. I'm hopeful that I can attend, and I would assume all you guys are going next year as well.
Yep.
Yep.
I am.
That is the plan.
Hopefully.
Awesome.
Hope to see you there. And we're making plans for 2024. Can't say anything yet because things are still fluid, but that's already in discussion.
Does Jesse know he's been volunteered to host it down in Atlanta?
No, he does not.
We're going to erect a very large marquee in Jesse's backyard.
There you go.
No, we were talking about that because we held it a couple of years ago, and maybe not just yet. We volunteer for another one.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, thank you all again. Really appreciate the time you took with us. Awesome to see you all. Awesome to meet some of you. And I look forward to our next discussion, and we hope to have you back on the Posse sometime.
Yeah, thanks
Sounds good.
everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Sweet.
Thanks,
And
guys.
thank you
Yeah,
all
thanks,
the
guys.
listeners for tuning in.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, gents.